How's it going, everybody? This is Soul Town Productions bringing you another Gangland video. Today we're going to be talking about Anaheim bad boy Citron street gang, right? This neighborhood is very notorious. Tread lightly when you walk through the neighborhood. First off, before I start speaking on this neighborhood, I want to tell the neighborhood, much respects. I'm only talking about your neighborhood with public knowledge, things that people could search up online. So let's get to it, right? Let's dive into it. And before we start, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel, right? If not, I ain't tripping. Let's just get it. In 2012, the Santa Ana Police Department participated in a multi-agency investigation into the Mexican Mafia. The investigation targeted Rafa Bernal, a Santa Anita street gang member. The task force believed Bernal was a tax collector for the Mexican Mafia. In other words, he extorted money from drug-dealing members of Hispanic street gangs, and he passed the proceeds to the Mexican Mafia. In February, a confidential informant wearing a wire met with Bernal to pay taxes on his drug sales. The informant had information John Alvarado, an associate of the McClay street gang, had been buying drugs from Bernal and owed him money. During their conversation, Bernal told the informant John owed him money. In May, a group of jail inmates assaulted Alvarado, and he was moved into protective custody. Alvarado told Orange County Sheriff's Deputy Brian Murray, a jail classification deputy investigating the assault, he had been targeted because he owed drug money to some Southsiders. Murray asked Alvarado what he planned to do about the situation. Alvarado said he was going to contact a few gang members, including Bernal, in an effort to clear the debt, but he needed to be in protective custody in the meantime. In September, Alvarado told Murray he had resolved his outstanding drug debt and was no longer a target for retribution. Murray moved Alvarado back into the general population. A few hours later, Solis, a member of the Citron Street Anaheim gang, and Chavira and Jose de la Pena, members of the West Side Anaheim gang, attacked and injured Alvarado in one of the jail's common areas or day rooms. Investigators later learned Chavira had called an unidentified person shortly before the attack. He asked the unidentified person to call his mother and tell her he was going to leave, that he was going to be leaving right now, that he was probably going to be going to the hole because of something he had to do as soon as my day room is over. 2 days after the September attack, Alvarado called an unidentified person and asked him to get a pen and paper. He asked if he or she was somewhere you can talk. Alvarado said, "I need you to get a hold of Shai. Tell her to get a hold of who she needs to get a hold of. You know who I am talking about." He continued, "Tell her I got off of Total Sep, okay, and I got fucking rushed because of already been fucking cleared. She needs to call him back." After making derogatory comments about law enforcement, Alvarado repeated, "I have already been cleared, but they haven't been notified or something. Communication needs to fix ASAP. I need you to get a pen and paper. I got off Total Sep and went into general population. And I got fucking rushed again." Rene Enriquez, a former made member of the Mexican Mafia, testified as a prosecution expert. He was in the organization for 17 years but left in 2002 to start working as an incarcerated confidential human resource for the ATF and FBI. Enrique analyzed intercepted communications from a variety of sources involving the Mexican Mafia and Hispanic street gangs. In exchange, Enriquez received government payments that were gifted to a third party. Enrique said the Mexican Mafia is comprised of 1% made members and 99% associates from Southern California Hispanic street gangs. Made members of the Mexican Mafia have the ability to control and tax all gang-related criminal activity within their jurisdiction. The Mexican Mafia allows local street gangs to sell drugs in exchange for a certain percentage of the proceeds. This enables the organization to generate millions of dollars in revenue. On June 29, 2008, at about 2:10 a.m., Ronald Santa Cruz was working as a cashier at a Shell gas station in Irvine. Two young men entered the gas station. One of the men, Armando Hernandez, demanded the money in the register and threatened to shoot Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz saw Hernandez had a gun and gave him the money. The other man attempted to throw a container of energy drinks at Santa Cruz, but the container was apparently too heavy. A video camera inside the gas station recorded the incident. After the robbery, Santa Cruz saw the two men walk to the back of the gas station. That was the last he saw of the men. He did not see them leave in a car. In October 2008, Detective Jeff Mundy of the Anaheim Police Department twice interrogated the defendant about the robbery and the shooting that occurred earlier the evening of the robbery. Over defendant's objection, the court ruled evidence of defendant's statements concerning the earlier shooting were admissible under Evidence Code Section 1101, Subdivision B, to show knowledge and intent. And the probative value of the evidence was not outweighed by any prejudicial effect of the evidence. The court found the statements were not obtained in violation of Miranda and held no extrinsic evidence at the purported murder would be admitted. A video of the interrogations was played by the jury. In discussing the night of the robbery and shooting that occurred earlier that evening, defendant initially claimed he was picked up by four strangers in a car after the shooting had already occurred. They drove on a freeway to a Del Taco and then dropped him off at his grandmother's house. He denied knowing anything about the shooting. Later, defendant said he was picked up in an alley in Anaheim by known Citron Street gang members. Defendant sat behind the driver, the individual he identified as Grumpy. Defendant said he knew Grumpy better than he knew the three others in the car. Defendant knew the passenger sitting next to him had a gun. There was a discussion about gang members from Folks, a rival gang, having been seen in the neighborhood as they drove. They saw two baldies they thought were members of Folks. The car stopped across the street from the suspected rivals, and three of the passengers got out of the car to hit them up. The suspected rivals. Defendant said that when members of one gang hit up someone from a rival gang, a fight will result. He added that when the person hitting up a suspected rival has a gun, that person will shoot the suspected rival. Upon being hit up, one of the Folks members fired a shot and yelled "Folks." They ran, and the three companions of defendant who left the car gave chase. One of the two Folks members was then shot and killed. Defendant admitted that had the Folks rivals not fired a shot, he would have gone out of the car to throw a punch at the rivals. After the shooting incident, the group drove to Irvine. On the way, the right front passenger and the right rear passenger said they wanted to come up or steal some money. The Shell gas station was selected as a target because it was empty. Defendant expected the money to come from the cash register. The right front passenger and the right rear passenger were dropped off on the street behind the gas station and went inside. Defendant knew what they were going to do. The robbers were gone about 10 or 15 minutes. The others in the car drove around looking for them. They saw the robbers hiding in bushes while looking for the robbers. Defendant kept an eye out for the police because he did not want the robbers to get arrested. He would have warned the others he had seen any police. The robbers got back into the car and the group drove to a Del Taco. The robbery netted less than $100. On the way to Del Taco, the right front passenger Hernandez gave the right rear passenger about $20 or $25. That's what they used to pay for the food. 3 different Anaheim police officers testified about the Citron Street Gang. Investigator Kelly Phillips testified to the history of the gang, the predicate act convictions of 2 members of the gang, and that the gang's primary activities are felony, vandalism, and aggravated assault. He concluded Citron Street is a criminal street gang with about 60 active members as of June 2008. Phillips said a hit-up is a challenge by a gang member to a member of another gang. He said that if members of rival gangs are involved, the hit-up will likely lead to violence. In gang culture, violence equates to respect, and respect is the same as fear. Phillips explained that the concept of backup may consist of helping another gang member assault someone acting as a lookout. By distracting police or otherwise assisting another member of the gang commit a crime. He said gang members are expected to back each other up, and gang members do not generally commit crimes with non-gang members. Backup allows the direct perpetrator of a crime to act bolder, knowing they have support from other gang members. The purpose of backup is to ensure the success of crime undertaken. Phillips said most gangs have a rule that when one member is in a car and has a gun, he will inform other gang members in the car of the gun's presence. That way the others can take steps to keep the gun from being found in the event of a police stop the car. In a hypothetical, that closely tracked the facts of the case. Phillips opened the robbery would benefit the Citron street gang because most gangs pay taxes on its profits to the Mexican Mafia. And because word of the robbery creates respect. You know, like I said, man, there's different kinds of definitions for respect, man. And things like that, yeah, they're respected by criminals, you know, by gang members. But in reality, what if they did that to your brother? What if they did that to your sister? Or to your mom? Or to your dad? Would it be considered respect then? Would you respect another gang member if he victimized your family like that? Of course not. No one would. You know, so the word respect has many different levels, man. Anaheim police shot and killed a man today at the 1100 block of Mayfair Avenue near the intersection of La Palma Avenue and Citron Street. It's the first fatal killing by the department since back-to-back shootings in July 2012 set off riots in the city that made national news. Details are slim at the moment, but the Weekly was the first media on the scene. At the time, a non-fatal shooting took place when a gunman opened fire on Orange County probation officers conducting searches. They were working in a county-marked white car when they contacted three individuals on the street. Anaheim Police Department Public Information Officer Lieutenant Tim Schmeidt tells the Weekly, two suspects took off running. One suspect pulled a handgun out, shot multiple rounds, missed them, and ran away. The incident occurred shortly before 2 p.m. on Lodge Street near Mayfair Avenue. Children walking out of nearby Harvest Man Elementary School were on lockdown. Anaheim police arrived to search for the suspects as a K-9 unit drove into the area. A standard warning sounded from the helicopter hovering above the K-9 dog was going to be released. Police cleared residents off the side of La Palma and Mayfair Avenue. Around 3:15 p.m. Around 3:15 p.m. a sudden volley of gunshots that sounded like firecrackers being set off in a trash can were heard. Residents took off running in both directions after 20 months of relative quiet. Anaheim police shot a man dead during the search of the original suspect in the original shooting. Officers found him. Lieutenant Schmeidt told the Weekly the suspect shot the K-9 also shot at the officers, and the officers returned fire. An ambulance left the area, but without its sirens on, the reasons were clear. He has not been transported, Lieutenant Schmeidt said. Of the downed suspect, I can confirm that he's dead on the scene. Officers and witnesses to both shootings have been transported back to Anaheim Police Department for interviews. The name and age of the dead man hasn't been released. The Weekly will keep tabs on developments as they come. So, what I could really say about this is this, man. Imagine if that guy would have shot a little kid. Or maybe got into a shootout with the cops and maybe the cops missed and shoot a kid. You know, it's casualties of war. I get that. You know, there's a criminal element. There's a drug selling element to these gangs, right? And it's all fine and dandy and everything, man. But at the end of the day, there's only three roads that leads to. That's jail, the hospital, or death. The only ones you really hurt is the community, your family, and the ones that love you. Think about all these gangs that have existed once before, and they're no longer here. Think about all the crimes they committed and victimized many people, and now they're no longer here. The gang died. There's no more members. At the end of the day, it's not worth it, fellas. Why? Because you're never going to own that street. That street is never going to belong to you. You might get busted for life and you'll never even own a home on that street. You know, as I said before, respect, right? Why don't you become a respectful member of society? You buy houses in your community, so you could at least say you own land or you own the house, you know. But instead, the only thing you own is a jail cell, and the only thing you'll unfortunately own is gonna be your casket, man. So with that being said, I'm gonna leave it at that. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. If you guys want me to cover any type of topic, please put it in the comments. I'm gonna drop videos on culture, knowledge, satanic knowledge, you know, the 13 royal bloodlines. So let me know what you guys want to see, man. And with that, I'm gonna leave it at that. Have a good night, my people. Stay safe. Stay the fuck away from bullshit, man. Al ratos.